Welcome back to ACB Wrestling Talk, your main source for wrestling news and wrestling discussions. I'm, of course, your host, Alexis Carrillo, and let's get into some wrestling talk. A lot of things to talk about, especially with Saturday night's pay-per-view Full Gear, All Elite Wrestling's pay-per-view Full Gear, taking place. Lots of things to talk about, but none bigger, none greater than the fact that Chris Jericho retained his AEW World Championship against Cody. And thus, because of the stipulation that was just added this past Wednesday on Dynamite, Cody can never challenge for the AEW World Champion ever again. Now, as I mentioned this past Friday on the Full Gear preview, stipulations like these, they normally don't last in professional wrestling. Eventually, once Cody turns heel, he will challenge for the AEW World Championship. He will go back on this stipulation. He is the Executive Vice President of All Elite Wrestling after all. And I believe that eventually Cody will become AEW World Champion. But the fact of the matter is that even though Chris Jericho retained, another thing that adds to that argument is the fact that Cody did not actually lose. He didn't get pinned. He didn't tap out. His supposedly best friend, MJF, threw in the towel for Cody, thus causing Chris Jericho to win the match by forfeit. So Y2J retained, Cody lost the match, and needless to say, the biggest thing coming out of this entire segment, coming out of this entire match, was something that happened after it. Because Cody, noticing that he had lost the match and lost the opportunity to beat Jericho and become the AEW World Champion, he seemed pretty pissed off and pretty annoyed at MJF. Although it took a few moments for him to, to get over it, or so it seemed, and, they seemed to reconcile, both Cody and MJF, and then MJF showed off his true colors, and, that smirk, that face, that build, everything about MJF screams, I just don't like you. I hate you. You're a heel. You're the typical bad guy. And he proved that in the middle of the ring by, low-blowing Cody. And, the fans were, typically mad, as they should be. And as MJF walked down that ramp, someone threw some liquid at MJF. Now, it may have been water, it may have been beer, it may have been soda, it may have been something else. We don't know, but, MJF played it off in a cool manner, simply just, widening his smirk, looking at the camera, that kind of stuff. And it's going to be damn exciting to see what MJF has to say on this episode of Dynamite, this upcoming episode of Dynamite on Wednesday night on TNT, because like I said, MJF is a natural heel, and I think this is the biggest talking point coming out of Full Gear. One more thing coming out of Full Gear, one topic that has divided the wrestling fan spectrum is the Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega Lights Out unsanctioned match. Needless to say, it was so violent, so extreme, so hasty, and so much anarchy that you have most of the fans divided on two camps. Either one of them just loved it, they loved the violence, they loved how extreme they went, they loved the fact that this wasn't WWE wrestling. They loved the fact that this wasn't PG wrestling. They loved the fact that AEW was delivering and giving to the fans something that they believed WWE had stolen from them, which was extreme wrestling and going hardcore and TV 14 and all of that. And then you have the other side of the spectrum of fans, which are the fans that, weren't quite as pleased with this match. Simply put, they weren't pleased with the violence. They weren't pleased with the fact that these wrestlers are still human beings who are putting their bodies, their careers, their lives on the line each and every single night, and you don't have to go through this just to entertain a crowd. And unfortunately for all of you watching, if you care about my opinion, I have to agree with the fans who, I'm not a fan of extreme wrestling. I'm not a fan of gimmick wrestling. I'm not a fan of putting these human beings, these professional wrestlers, in too much danger when it's not completely necessary. The crowd would have marked out just as much just over the fact that it was Moxley versus Omega. Now, that's my point of view. Now, if you don't agree with me, if you don't like my point of view, feel free to comment on the comment section below. That's what it's there for. I won't block you. I won't delete your comment. Hell, I'll even respond to you. Go right ahead. It's freedom of speech. And because it's freedom of speech, I have to say that, again, it didn't have to go all out for this match. And especially for the very first match in the rivalry. I get it. They were supposed to have their first match at All Out. Unfortunate circumstances did not allow it. But still, they could have been a little bit more conservative in terms of their match. Now, if you don't agree with me, again, leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions in the comments section below. And yet another talking point coming out of Full Gear was the fact that we finally got some excitement and some adrenaline injected into the AEW Women's Division because Brandi Rhodes and Awesome Kong came out during the buy-in and laid out B. Priestley. And, I think that eventually won't have anything to do with what the future holds for the Women's Division. But hey, Brandi Rhodes and Awesome Kong are now an active part of the AEW Women's Division. And thus, maybe they'll be in the future of AEW Women's Champion Rio, who retained her title at Full Gear. Unfortunately, what happened at the pay-per-view event wasn't everything to transpire, wasn't everything left to talk about the pay-per-view. We had a few injuries. Cody, after a dive towards the outside because of that ramp, that I've never liked the high ramp for any wrestling event. I think it detracts. I know it's different, but I think it detracts from the action. It detracts from high-flying moves such as the one Cody performed at Full Gear. And Cody ended up getting injured, and he is apparently now unable to compete. He's going to be apparently out 3 to 4 weeks, maybe more, maybe less, we don't know. But now Cody is unable to compete. So again, it takes a toll on every single one of your stars, and Cody is not the exception. Speaking of the match that, has many fans divided, Kenny Omega resulted injured in his match against Jon Moxley. Doctors have not cleared him to compete. He is not going to be able to compete, at least not for this week's episode of Dynamite. So, again, another point in my favor in terms of not going all out, not going too violent and too extreme for their match. And finally, for Dynamite, this Wednesday, we're going to have a rematch. Of course, Adam Hangman Page defeated Pac at the pay-per-view. We're going to have ourselves a rematch at Dynamite. And it's most likely going to define who's the next to challenge Chris Jericho for the AEW World Champion. I have no doubt about that because I believe Pac is number 2. Hangman Page is number 3. That may have changed due to their result at Full Gear. But again, we'll just have to find out this Wednesday night on TNT. Moving on to other news in the wrestling spectrum, Stone Cold Steve Austin announced that he would be having a new show on the WWE Network called the Broken Skull Sessions, which isn't really going to be similar to his Stone Cold podcast that he used to do on the network. This is more going to be an interview style show, maybe in the same vein as the interview segments that we get from Michael Cole, from Renee Young at one point, from Charlie Caruso in another. So that's going to be more the tone, I believe. It's going to premiere on November 24th on the WWE Network. And the very first guest is going to be The Undertaker. And needless to say, WWE is promoting the fact that it might not be The Undertaker. Stone Cold Steve Austin might actually be interviewing the person, the human being, Mark Calloway, which obviously gets a lot of fans intrigued, because we don't normally get to see The Undertaker as Mark Calloway, specifically not in WWE. Hell, I don't think we've ever seen Mark Calloway in WWE. We've only seen The Undertaker. So I'm going to be looking forward to that, because, you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't hold back. Even though he is a company man, I doubt that he's gonna allow himself and his show to be, you know, pushed in a direction that he doesn't want it to be pushed. And, you know, he's not gonna be told what not to ask and what not to question to his guests. So again, this Stone Cold session is going to premiere on November 24th on the WWE Network. It's going to be taking place from Stone Cold Steve Austin's ranch, not in any studio. So that's that. We have ourselves the Smackdown Fallout. Again, Friday night, we had yet another episode of Smackdown on Fox. I believe it was pre-taped, taking place from the UK. King Corbin mocked Roman Reigns in a well-delivered but poorly written promo about the big dog's bark. Again, for the material that King Corbin had, it was pretty well delivered. He did a great job making the best of it. But still, the writing of the promo and the intention of it made Corbin look like a 10-year-old king. So that's all I have to say about that. The New Day, just like I said, just like I predicted on the preview on Friday's ACB Wrestling Talk show, the New Day became the brand new 7-time SmackDown Tag Team Champions. And now it appears that they may be heading towards Survivor Series to face off against the Undisputed Era and against the Viking Raiders. I talked about it. I talked about the fact that the Viking Raiders, even though they're supposed to be faces on Raw, they are not big enough baby faces to go against the big heels that the Undisputed Era are. The New Day are extremely over with the crowd. They always get them on their feet. They're proven baby faces. Smart move by WWE. And let's just talk about the fact that Kofi Kingston just got squashed by Brock Lesnar and was just reverted back to the tag team division. Okay, just leave that on the table for another moment to touch upon, you know, on a different show. We had NXT UK's Imperium UK champion Walter, Marcel Martel, Fabian Aichner, and Alexander Wolf attack Heavy Machinery before a match, after which the rest, or quote-unquote rest, of the SmackDown locker room came out and tried to run them down. Yet another episode of NXT invading a WWE main roster show, and, you know, NXT not getting the same treatment. At least not yet. Cesaro Nakamura defeated Ali and Gable. I refuse to call him Shorty G. Again, to me, he's still Chad Gable. Cesaro Nakamura, run-of-the-mill tag team match. Daniel Bryan looking on. We would later get a segment where Sami Zayn tried to convince Daniel Bryan, as he's been doing for the past few weeks, to join their, what did they call it, their crusade against WWE, Nakamura and Zayn, only for the Fiend to come out of nowhere, lower the lights, and attack Daniel Bryan. So it's clear to see that the Fiend's first defense for the Universal Championship is going to be against Daniel Bryan. Not many babyfaces to go around. It was either Reigns or Daniel Bryan. They went with Daniel Bryan. Again, a smart move by WWE's creative team. Let's see what other story elements they can add to this feud and rivalry. We've got Banks defeating Cross, Bayley attacks Cross, and then Shayna Baszler attacks Bayley. Again, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. NXT once again invading our WWE main roster show. And it took Sasha Banks a little while to come to the aid of her quote-unquote best friend. So maybe that develops into something more into the future. Maybe even a WrestleMania match between Bayley and Sasha Banks. But for right now, this is exactly what happened last week. Nothing more to talk about. Let's just move on. And finally, because Fury, I respect Fury as a boxer. He's a boxing champion. But I don't want to talk about Fury and Strowman. I don't want Tyson Fury on WWE programming any longer. Nothing against him. I'm just not into it. I'm just not feeling the entertainment value that Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman bring to WWE TV. That's just me. If you have a different opinion, go ahead and speak your mind on the comments section below. And finally, King Corbin defeated Roman Reigns after a distraction from Ziggler and Rude, as it should be, because King Corbin would never defeat Roman Reigns in a one-on-one clean match. Not right now, at least. So, Corbin versus Reigns is going to continue. Corbin, not a big fan of Corbin. So, and neither are most WWE fans. So again, smart move by WWE creative, the WWE creative team, because Reigns is still a pretty over babyface, and you're not gonna have fans turning on Reigns to cheer Corbin on. So that's gonna be the future, the very near future for Roman Reigns. And tonight we have the Monday Night Raw episode pre-taped from the UK. So if spoilers are out there, and I please beg of you not to comment any spoilers on tonight's show. There are people who haven't read the spoilers. There are people who don't know it's pre-taped. There are fans who would rather watch it live instead of reading spoilers online or on the comment section of this YouTube video. Seth Rollins has been named the leader of Team Raw for the Survivor Series Triple Threat Elimination match against NXT and SmackDown. Again, we talked about this this past Friday on Wrestling Talk. Seth Rollins has been losing his mojo, to say the least. He's not the most over babyface anymore on Monday Night Raw. He's not as energetic as he used to be, and he doesn't seem to be in the emotional and mental position to lead a team into Survivor Series. Now, I get it. He lost to Adam Cole this past Monday night, and so maybe that fuels a fire under him and has him become this leader that Team Raw needs for Survivor Series. But I just don't see it, especially if they keep naming guys to this roster, to the Team Raw roster, and let's just wait and see how Seth Rollins interacts with them. Becky Lynch is going to open up Raw and address the upcoming triple threat match at Survivor Series. She kind of already did. Yeah, she kind of already did last week on the interview segment with Charlie Caruso. Apparently, this might just be a case of, well, she's gonna address the fact that Shayna Baszler interrupted her interview segment this past Monday night on Raw. She's going to address the fact that Bayley called them out this past Friday night on SmackDown. To me, that's pretty damn clear. So again, look forward to Becky Lynch opening up Monday Night Raw tonight. Again, no spoilers. The Kabuki Warriors, sorry about that. The Kabuki Warriors set to defend the Women's Tag Team Championships tonight on Raw, with opponents, I believe, yet to be named. Might be the Iconics, might be some other tag team. We don't know, but, you know, the Kabuki Warriors are definitely, you know, an X factor. They don't really talk any clear English, so they're not able to deliver an effective promo other than just speaking Japanese, and obviously the crowd's going to boo that because they don't understand Japanese, and so, you know, that's that. And finally, Lana is set to unveil a shocking confession on Monday Night Raw. Again, this entire feud, this entire rivalry, Lana Rusev, Bobby Lashley angle is weird, to say the least. It's creative, don't get me wrong, it's really creative, but is it the right creative? Is it the right storyline to try and get viewers to tune in? You know, wrestling fans haven't been on board with it, so we'll just have to wait and see what Lana's shocking confession is on Monday Night Raw, because I really can't predict where this rivalry, where this feud, where this program is going in the upcoming weeks. I really can't. So with that said, that's been ACB Wrestling Talk. I've been your host, Alexis Carrillo. Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on every single one of the topics we talked about on today's show on the comments section below. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you dislike this video, hit the dislike button. That's it for me. Till next.